Well, I tell you, Annabelle was just not in this horror movie, horror prop or anything like that. No fake little porcelain doll. The real Annabelle was not porcelain at all. She was a rag and doll and everything. And the real Annabelle was not used in the Conjuring movie, was using a fake porcelain doll. Something that is scary, but the real Annabelle was had human hair from the door with air. So let's get into the video, shall we?
Most people think horror movies are just stories, but the real history of the Annabelle doll is far darker. She wasn't born from fiction, but from a true tragedy, where fear opened doors that should have stayed shut. This doll became the home of something ancient, cruel, and intelligent. Annabelle doesn't scare because of how she looks. She terrifies because of what lives inside her. In the 19th century, in a forgotten European village, a desperate mother tried to comfort her dying daughter. With shaking hands, she stitched together a cloth doll, just a gesture of love. But that small act opened a gateway. A dark spirit, trapped between worlds, saw its chance and took shelter inside the toy. From that day forward, a curse had begun. The doll looked harmless, worn fabric, stitched eyes, but something pulsed inside it, an ancient spirit silent and watching, feeding off the fear around it. The mother tried to protect her daughter with old rituals, but it was too late. The spirit was already hiding, growing stronger with each passing moment. The doll had become its mask and its weapon. Years passed. The doll changed hands. Every family said the same. Strange heaviness in the air, whispers in the night, accidents without cause. Objects moved, pets vanished. Children woke up screaming. The doll was always given away, but somehow always returned. The evil inside it didn't just survive, it grew. Fear made it stronger. Pain kept it alive. In the 20th century, the doll reached the US. Donna, a nursing student, got it as a gift. At first, it was just an old, creepy toy. But soon, things changed. It started moving on its own, showing up in new rooms. Her friends joked about it until handwritten notes began to appear. Short, chilling messages. Help me. I'm here. You will die. The signs multiplied. Footsteps in empty halls, doors slamming shut, muffled crying in the dark. Donna and her roommate Angie lived in constant fear. The doll felt alive, always watching, always there, waiting. It didn't feel like a toy anymore. It felt like something else. Something hiding in plain sight, growing more powerful by the day. One night Angie woke up screaming. Her arm was covered in deep scratches. No animal, no reason. Just the marks, and the doll on the floor right next to her bed. It was the touch of something invisible and vicious. From that moment, fear became routine. No one slept. No one ate. The doll wasn't just in their home. It was in control. The spirit didn't just hurt the body. It invaded the mind. The girls started breaking down. Visions, hallucinations, sudden waves of panic. Friends drifted away. The energy around them felt poisonous. Living in that apartment was like standing in the eye of a storm. And at the center of it all, the doll, silent, still, watching. They tried to get rid of it again and again, threw it out, burned it, gave it away. It always came back, perfect, untouched, as if mocking them. The evil inside Annabelle was smart and patient. The more fear it caused, the more powerful it became. It didn't just want to stay, it wanted them to know they'd never escape. The apartment turned into a nightmare. Objects flew across rooms. Whispers in unknown languages echoed through the walls. Shadows crept where no light reached. Every room had its own horror. Annabelle was no longer just present. She was rooted. The space wasn't a home anymore, it was her temple, and within it she ruled in silence. Each night the evil presence grew stronger. Doors slammed for no reason. Echoes of laughter came from the dark. Furniture moved violently. Donna and Angie were trapped, caught in an invisible web. No matter where they ran, the terror followed. The house wasn't haunted, it was hunting them, and the doll, she was the one pulling the strings. Scratches and bruises appeared on their bodies overnight, pain without a source. The evil wasn't just physical, it infected their minds. The girls stopped sleeping, stopped eating. The doll was draining their energy day by day. Like a parasite, it fed off their suffering, slowly pulling the life out of them, one breath at a time. Sleep became a battlefield. Every time they closed their eyes, nightmares dragged them through corridors filled with shadows and whispers. They woke up screaming, their nails digging into skin. The entity was using their dreams as a weapon. Even sleep offered no escape. The terror followed them into the only place left untouched. Until now. They realized Annabelle wasn't just haunted, she was a portal, a doorway to something ancient and merciless. The doll was only the shell. Behind it, something far worse waited. Something intelligent, something patient. And it loved watching people fall apart, emotionally, physically, spiritually. This was never about possession. It was about destruction. Out of desperation, they locked the doll in a closet, surrounded it with salt, crosses, and prayers. But the sounds never stopped. Scratching, knocking, laughter. They tried to leave, but something always pulled them back. The doll stayed inside, but her reach stretched far beyond the wood and nails. It was a prison, but not for her. For them, even the neighbors began to suffer. People heard screams at night, saw shadows peering through windows. Anyone who visited the apartment got sick or scared. Some never came back. It was like the evil inside the doll had started to spread, quietly, invisibly, like a sickness, contagious and hungry for more. The entity thrived on despair. Every cry, every tear was fuel. Annabelle became more than an object. She was a force, a presence that lived in their thoughts, their dreams, their fears. She didn't need to speak. She didn't need to move. She existed in silence and suffocated them with it. Her power wasn't loud. It was constant. They tried again, dumped her in a river, buried her on holy ground. She came back every time, untouched, as if she'd never left. It wasn't luck, it was control. The spirit inside Annabelle was toying with them, letting them believe they had power. But they didn't. She always knew exactly where to return, and when. Donna and Angie were shadows of themselves, isolated, broken. Their families couldn't reach them. Their friends gave up. The doll had taken over. They cried for no reason, laughed at nothing, stared at the walls for hours. They weren't living. They were fading. And the worst part, they knew it and couldn't stop it. The apartment exploded with chaos. Mirrors cracked, pictures fell, lights burst. Annabelle sat quietly in her corner, as if pleased. The house wasn't just haunted anymore. It was hers. She had planted herself in every wall, every shadow. She wasn't waiting to attack. She already had. And now she was ready for more. Every night, the darkness in the house grew heavier. Doors slammed violently, furniture dragged across the floor. A cold air settled in every room. Donna and Angie barely spoke. They just existed. It felt like the evil had a mind of its own, watching, waiting, playing with them. The house was no longer theirs. It belonged to Annabelle, and she wasn't sharing. New scratches appeared daily, pain without cause. Their bodies ached, their spirits broke. The air itself felt suffocating. Hope was gone. The house became a prison of fear, where time slowed and the walls whispered. The doll never moved, but her presence filled every inch. It wasn't just haunting them, it was consuming them. Terrifying visions took over their minds. Shadows in mirrors, voices whispering their names. Sleep became a curse, filled with vivid nightmares that bled into reality. The girls were exhausted, hallucinating, unsure what was real. Annabelle didn't just live in their apartment anymore. She lived inside their heads. They tried one more time to get rid of her, took the doll to a church. The priest wouldn't touch her, said something had followed them inside. That night, the church burned to the ground. No one was hurt. except the building. In the ashes, sitting untouched, was Annabelle. Not even fire would accept her. The message was clear. She was staying. Friends who tried to help started disappearing, emotionally or physically. Some returned different. Some didn't return at all. One laughed at the doll and died in a crash that same night. Everyone around them was being pulled into the same nightmare. Annabelle wasn't just watching. She was choosing, marking, and taking. Daylight offered no relief. The house felt cursed, even under the sun. Insects died around the windows. Clocks stopped. Electronics failed. The air never warmed. The girls weren't safe at night, and now, not even during the day. Annabelle had broken every boundary. Time, space, sanity. Her reach was limitless. Fear ruled every moment. Walking down the hall meant bracing for screams or sudden crashes. The silence wasn't empty. It was waiting. The TV turned on by itself. Reflections showed things that weren't there. And always, the doll. Never far, never still. More like a resident than an object. A resident who the neighbors noticed too. Dogs barked at the house non-stop. Streetlights flickered. Kids refused to walk past it. One neighbor claimed to hear crying every night. Another had a breakdown and never returned. The evil inside the house had outgrown its walls. It was leaking into the world, and the world was starting to feel it. Donna and Angie were falling apart. They didn't talk anymore, barely moved. They were shadows of who they had been. Annabelle had taken everything: sleep, joy, hope.
And you might have heard a few months ago, think about 6 months back, one guy did a video about Annabelle. They found him the next damn day with his heart crushed. His heart was shredded or grabbed. Didn't like no heart attack mean like somebody grabbed him to crush it. That's how his heart was inside the option. That's what his heart was like. Now the Annabelle doll is missing. So yeah. Back to the video.
The doll didn't scream. She didn't need to. The silence around her was enough to break them. They weren't haunted anymore. They were owned. Just when they thought no one would help, someone came. Not a priest, not a cop, paranormal investigators, a married couple known for dealing with the worst kind of evil. Ed and Lorraine Warren. They had seen possession, curses, death. But even they weren't ready for what was waiting inside that doll. Ed and Lorraine Warren had faced haunted houses, possessions, demonic entities. But the moment they stepped into Donna's apartment, they felt it, something unnatural. A silence that pressed on their chests. The doll sat motionless, but its presence was suffocating. Lorraine whispered, "This isn't just a spirit. It's ancient, and it's watching us." The air was cold, despite the summer heat outside. Lorraine, a clairvoyant, felt sick as she neared the doll. She said something was whispering in an old, forgotten language. Ed pulled out holy water and began praying. The doll shook, objects fell, the apartment reacted. The spirit inside wasn't leaving quietly. It was ready for war. That night the Warrens stayed in the house. They set up cameras and equipment. What they captured was beyond belief. Shadowy figures with no form, sudden temperature drops, whispers caught on tape. In some footage the doll's head had moved, just slightly, but enough to confirm one thing: she knew she was being watched. During the investigation, Lorraine collapsed. She entered a trance, weeping. "There's a pit of souls inside her," she cried. "Children, women, twisted in pain." Annabelle wasn't just a vessel. She was a collector, a prison, and the entity behind her was using each trapped soul to grow stronger. Ed began the ritual. It had begun. The walls shook. The doll fell from the table. Lights blew out. Lorraine chanted prayers while Ed focused on the seal. Voices filled the room. Dozens, maybe hundreds. Some screamed. Others laughed. One growled, "You won't take her." They weren't just fighting a spirit. They were facing something much worse, and it knew their names. After hours, the house went still. No more voices, no shaking. Ed finished the seal. Lorraine trembled. She's weaker, but not gone. They had trapped it for now. But the evil wasn't gone, just waiting, watching. Annabelle had been contained, not defeated, and they knew the next step was getting her out. Transporting Annabelle required a box built from blessed churchwood, lined with prayers. On the drive to their home, the brakes failed, twice, nearly fatal. Lorraine glanced at the doll. It hadn't moved, but something in its silence felt satisfied. The spirit was still playing. Even in chains it had claws. Back home, the Warrens placed Annabelle in an isolated room. They began the most powerful sealing ritual they knew. Crucifixes, holy water, ancient relics. The candles bent against invisible wind. Glass shattered, but they kept going. The doll was still, but the energy around her furious, as if she knew she was losing. Finally, Annabelle was locked inside a glass case, blessed, sealed, and never to be opened. Lorraine stared at it and said, "It's not over. It's only asleep." They had caged the beast, but not destroyed it. One day, the seal could fail, and if it did, she would be ready. Annabelle was placed in the Warrens Occult Museum, home to the most dangerous cursed objects. She sat behind glass, silent. Yet visitors often grew dizzy, cold, or terrified.
The real Annabelle was a lot different than the movie one. She was a rag doll, and she was not in a glass case. She was in like a shelf where you could open the door and everything. But now it's missing. So, hope this keeps y'all in sight. Good night.